Hello, everybody, and welcome to Mix Up Sports on Twitch.tv. I'm Kershaw Ryan, and to my left, Nick Sexton. To
Hello,
my
everybody,
right,
and welcome to
Frank
Mix Up
Marchese. Boys, how you doing
Sports
today?
Doing good.
Doing all right.
As last night, as most of us are aware, was Game 6 of the NBA Finals in Cleveland at Quicken Loans Arena. It seemed like Cavaliers ball all night. At some points, there were spurs of Warrior moments where they caught up and made it seem like it was going to be a game, but it just didn't seem to be the case at the end of the night. Um, it, I mean, at the end of the day, the Cavaliers ended up winning, but uh, yet again, there's a lot of controversial as far as officiating goes. There's off-court issues, and even Steph Curry getting ejected due to some temperamental issues for the first time in his career, actually. So, based on last night, what do you guys take from it, and how does this affect going into Game 7?
I mean, this was a very telling game for the Warriors as Steph Curry. I mean, even though he had a good what appears to be a good night stat wise, it really, I mean, he did not have a good game whatsoever. We saw in the first quarter Steve Kerr had to take Stephen Curry off of the court because the Cavs were just attacking him, playing whoever offense, running the offense through whoever Curry was guarding. And it was, I mean, it was sad to see pretty much from what Curry was doing. It was, we saw LeBron just take over the game. Kyrie and LeBron doing it again, with Kyrie getting 23 points, LeBron leading the way with 41. I mean, this was a vintage LeBron that we see when his team is on the line and could be going to elimination. He turns it on, and that he really showed that tonight or last night.
I mean, definitely, and like I said just just an hour ago, that we waited so long for LeBron to finally decide that he was ready to take over a series, and he has. He did. He did just as well as you could have imagined, not only in Game 5 but in Game 6 as well. I mean, with getting the 41 points again both nights, having pretty much similar stat lines in both games. I mean, it really showed that he's hungry to come back and win this title.
Yeah, it really showed. We mentioned it time and time again that he can definitely take control of these series, and he even talked about it that he can whenever he wants. And we've been questioning it day in and day out. Is he going to do it this time? Is it going to be this series? Is it going to be the next one? And up until these finals, we really haven't seen him much. I remember Game 1 and 2 where he was driving in and kicking it out, trying to get everybody else hot around him, and that just didn't seem to work. Now that he's actually driving to the basket and being more clinical as far as taking these jump shots and actually making them, because we know that that was originally his weak point in his game. But now that he's sinking them and he's being more forward and aggressive as far as attacking the boards and everything else, he's definitely taking a step up, demanding that he's essentially the leader of this team. And Kyrie Irving's just been putting in just as much work carrying his load. When it comes to the big three, it's clearly not the big three anymore because we've seen what Kevin Love is doing, and we saw last night again.
Okay, before we continue here, Krusha, you jumped ship on us here. We were expected to start with the Copa America and expected to start with the Euros today, but you switched it on us. And there's a piece of audio that we would like to play for you guys. That if you guys didn't hear it on Thursday, I would like to play it for you now.
I still feel like he's one of their better centers. I think he's better than Varejao without a doubt. But for me, I'm still so confident in the way the Warriors plays that I will make this statement here live that I am
Nick, anytime you're ready with that,
confident the
you
Warriors
play
will
it.
win. I will allow my counterparts on this network to post anything on any social media of their choosing if the Warriors lose. But I'm so confident that they'll win tonight, and it'll be another celebration in the Bay Area, Oracle Arena, for Warriors when they come back home from Cleveland.
Wow, all right. So, as you guys heard, that was a very bold statement from Krusha, saying that he was so confident that the Warriors would win that he would let his co-host, being Frankie and I, post anything on his social media account. As we know how that game went, Krusha, do you regret anything?
I'm not so much as far as regret as I am right now, wondering what compelled me to do that. But I'm a man of my word. I will stand by it. Guys, pay attention to social media because I'm sure at some point.
Oh, no, no, no.
I'll,
You won't have to pay attention to social media. Just pay attention to right now on the screen here. That right there, or what Nick is about to show here, is Krusha with the Michael Jordan crying face meme plastered over it because that's his favorite meme in the world. And yeah, so hope you guys enjoy that the rest of the segment.
oh, there. But it's like I mentioned earlier. The Warriors at times seemed like they would make a run, and then blew it. Like I said, I'm a man of word. I'll stick by it. I know I hate this thing regardless, and just praying that copyright isn't a thing at this moment. Um, but overall, it's I'll pay up, and I'm sure at some point I still feel confident that Warriors will finish out the series, but it just wasn't last night like I made the statement it would have been. But like I said, still stand by them.
I mean, back to the game that is in question. I mean, a lot of controversy, like you mentioned, has been about not only the fines but about the fouls that Steph Curry committed. People thought that his final foul maybe wasn't a foul, but about that, with 5 fouls, Curry cannot be acting that aggressive, reaching into a point where sure it can turn the tide of the game, but most likely it's not going to make that much of a difference if you get that steal at that point. And so he's got to be smarter when he's got 5 fouls. He can't be reaching in. He's got to, keep in mind that this is it. One more foul and he's out of there. And so, with what happened, I mean, it would seem like just a mental lapse that came from Curry with how he played. I mean, we've seen him play obviously a whole lot better, and it will definitely be interesting to see how Curry responds in Game 7.
That and to throw your mouthpiece into the stands. I understand you're upset and I understand you're irritated and I understand you're aggravated, but that's something you can't do. If anything, just throw it. Just throw it to the ground. That and I mean, like I said, I thought the Kevin Love's third foul was absolutely atrocious, but it actually did more for Cleveland taking him off the floor than it did for Golden State.
Yeah, I remember watching the game live, and Nick and I were actually chatting back and forth about this. That it seemed like Coach Tyronn Lue's game plan was to have Kevin Love put himself in the foul trouble because I mean it seemed like it was like 2 minutes in and he already had 2 fouls, and then the next time he's in, it took a minute to get his third. It worked out because with him off the court, it was a lot easier for Cavaliers to play better ball. I'm actually looking at his plus and minus stat right now, and he has a -6. Could have sworn it would have been more because it seems like every time he was on the court, Golden State was able to get back into the game. It boggles my mind how such a star player that everyone thought was going to be amazing on this team has shown very little of that during this. But speaking of not showing up, I mean, I'm looking at Harrison Barnes' stat, 0 for 8 and 0 for 5 from three-point range. He is taking these open shots and not draining them whatsoever. I mean, you're in the finals for crying out loud. It's a bit ridiculous if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I mean, it seemed whenever Kevin Love had a controversial call as far as if it might have been a foul. I'm rooting for the Cavs, also rooting for Krusha to post that, which ended up happening. But it was almost like questioning whether do I want Kevin Love to get the foul or for the Warriors not to shoot free throws, because that's really what it is. He only played 11 minutes last night. I mean, I don't even know if you can call it a blessing in disguise because everyone knew how bad Kevin Love was playing. But you mentioned Harrison Barnes. He has got to play better. Just an awful night on offense and defense. He's got to play better. They count on him to make those shots. And if you take 5 3-pointers, you got to knock down at least one. I mean, when Kevin Love is scoring more points than you, I mean that's a little bit concerning. But I mean, this Warriors team, we've seen them play better, and I mean but LeBron, you have to give him credit. He turned it on, 41 points, 11 assists, 8 rebounds. I mean, he has been on a whole nother level these finals. I think I saw a statistic saying that he was in first place for in these finals for points, assists, steals, blocks, and
Pretty
tied for
much
first in rebounds.
every single statistic he was first in, except for one in which he was tied for first.
Yeah,
So you could say he has first, but essentially, but no, I know what you're talking about.
he is just playing unbelievable. And I mean, one of my favorite parts of the game was on a fast break. Curry went to lay it up, and LeBron just blocked the shot into off the ground into like the third row. I mean, he is. It seems like this is his coming out party as far as telling the world that Curry is not taking that throne from LeBron yet.
Well, for me at least, I love watching the Warriors play ball because they're a new thing that the NBA really hasn't seen before, and the fact that they've come out and played it the way they have to earn these 73 wins record and then come out and go all the way to the finals. I mean, it's nice to watch them play, but last night it was just horrendous. Like, I felt bad because I'm watching Klay Thompson force up these ridiculous shots, taking pump fakes when they aren't needed, and chucking up these wild shots. Watching Harrison Barnes try to make these shots that are just like, wow, dude, you're a professional. Make a basket. And you have Iguodala, who, I mean, granted, you could say that he was injured, wasn't playing to the best of his abilities, but he wasn't quite on last night. Stephen Curry, we've given him crap all finals, essentially saying that he needs to step up, and it felt like last night he was the only one that's trying. And when you have the frustration that he had, I can understand why he did what he did. And not to discredit him, he did walk over to the fan and apologize, which I think a lot of players in this day and age wouldn't do. So you have to give some class points to him, but definitely but he should keep his composure. He's a professional. Like we mentioned, this is the first ejection he's ever had in his career. Then what better stage than to have it than in the finals? But for this Warriors team, they really need Harrison Barnes to step up. They definitely need to start playing better basketball, taking better shots. And another thing, too, is I'm not sure if it's me being biased, but keep Ezeli off the court.
Yeah, I would say that Ezeli is your favorite player on the Warriors, really. But but yeah, I mean, as much as I may seem like a Curry hater, I do respect his game, but I respect him going back and apologizing to the fan. Turns out that the fan that it hit wasn't just any fan, but it was Andrew Forbes, the son of Cavaliers minority owner Nate Forbes. So that kind of escalated the situation. But then there was talk about, is Curry going to get suspended for this? Is he going to be fined? He was fined $25,000, as we mentioned. And, I mean, it makes sense as if you look through all the times players have thrown items at fans, there's been multiple occasions where that's happened and they were fined. But a lot of players that throw anything near the ref or at the ref, they're suspended. So that's the line that gets drawn. Fans, it's a fine. Ref, it's a suspension. So, I mean...
Well, to not interrupt you or to argue against you, but I believe Udonis Haslem back in Miami, he threw his mouthpiece at a fan on accident, and he actually got suspended for the following game. So I mean, it's not like it's not been unheard of.
He threw it at Joey Crawford.
Oh, so I read a wrong article. My bad, guys. My bad.
No problem. I mean, it makes sense where you see people getting suspended for throwing stuff, but it's that determination of if it's a ref or a fan. And so I think the punishment was fair. Also, you don't want to be suspending, one of the best players in the game for such an important game if it's controversial, If since it's game 7, the refs don't want to take control of this game, and then I mean the refs have been scrutinized enough these finals. I mean with fair reason, but I mean they've been scrutinized enough. They do not want to put themselves in any more issues.
No, and we mentioned the fine that Steph Curry got, but then the comments after the game, the press conference with Steve Kerr, cost him $25,000 as well. We mentioned that he basically was unhappy with the officiating, as is a lot of fans on both sides of these games. Where if you're a Cavs fan or a Golden State fan, it seems like everybody's upset with this officiating the series, and he made that clear about how bad and awful it was, and the league went and turned around and then fined him, which. I mean, everyone has a right to voice their opinion. I think this is a way of just keeping him quiet and be like, "Listen, you're meant to coach, not to tell us how to do our jobs." which I find is baffling. But if the league's going to do it, then they need to be equal across all boards. When LeBron is crying to officials about something, at some point they need to fine him. Or when Tyronn Lue or anybody on the Cavs squad or anybody on any team for that matter needs to be fined for bad mouthing the refs. I mean, like I said, I was listening to the comments. It wasn't so much bad mouthing as so much it was saying it needs to get better. But I mean, that's from my point of view.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. You mentioned, how a lot of players they kind of go after they foul. They go to the refs, talk about it. Some in a more of a passionate way than others. We'll put it that way. But I mean, I think it's the fact that his exact comments were Steve Kerr. He said he had every right to be upset. He's the MVP of the league. He gets 6 fouls called on him. 3 of them were absolutely ridiculous. I mean, I understand the frustration from Kerr, but at the same time, calling out the refs in public in a press conference like that, questioning their officiating, that's a no-no from a coach. You can't, as much sense as it might make to, whether some of the fouls were called ridiculous on the court, you can't question the officiating. It's, especially in this intensity of a game. And I mean, it's a rough situation, but I mean, 25,000, is that really gonna matter to Kerr? It's more just like a slap on the wrist at this point for Curry and Kerr.
It's not so much a slap on the wrist. It's just essentially they're stupid things. I understand why Stephen Curry was fined, and I can see where you're coming from when you mention it, that it's the call-out part. Maybe that's why he got fined. But for Steve Kerr, it's more stupid than the Stephen Curry situation. But we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, international soccer has been taking a lot of it's going up in flames a lot lately. So with that being the case, don't go away. We'll be right back.